All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Mr. Sly back in here, and welcome back to a session we love to call "Do Not Jackpot with Your Wife." Now, most people might say, "Mr. Sly, do not jackpot with your wife." What do you mean? Now, we have the act of guys going overseas and moving from Nigeria to Western countries for greener pasture, and we try to advise men that if you have to make that important decision, the one thing you're going to do or not going to do is go along with your wife. But then this is not to say that relationships of people or marriages of people who go overseas with their partner fails every time. We see some that succeed, but then the chances of you being one of the people who's going to cry is high. Now, aside that fact of do not jump out your wife, we also have the situation whereby there are Nigerian men overseas who meet Nigerian women either overseas or through the internet or by recommendation back in Nigeria. So now your hope is that, well, you're going to go back to Nigeria, marry her and bring her along with you. That is another thing we do not advocate in support of. So once again, do not jackpot your wife. And today, we've got an important, interesting story of another guy who did the same thing, left his overseas wife that he was already married to for a Nigerian girl, and we're going to see how it ended up for him. But before we get into that, do me a favor, please hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get into this story here. This story says this guy's post here says, "You brought this pain upon yourself." Let's read the story. So now it starts with this. Exactly 17 years ago, I came to the States on a visitor's visa. It took me years to finally get my papers and get myself into the situation I'm seeing today. I was married to a Mexican American who loved me and we loved each other. She filed for me and got me my citizenship without me asking. She gave me love, but her drama was too much. She loved me too much. She cried over every little thing. At some point in time, it used to be sweet, but later it started becoming annoying. On top of that, I faced mockery online for not marrying a fellow black woman or a Nigerian woman like myself. The pressure was intense. I stopped being intimate with her and started a job far from her. One time, I traveled with my friends for a wedding and the bridesmaid caught my eye. I asked her out and told her I was going to marry her. She instantly fell for me. The calls were romantic, but my wife became a bother to me. Every time she called or traveled to see me, I felt overwhelmed. I began finding ways for her to divorce me so I could marry this girl from Nigeria. I searched for the best way possible and eventually told her I had been cheating on her. I made up a story about having sex with a stripper and said she didn't deserve me. She was shocked, thinking I was kidding. When I insisted I was serious, she cried and called her family. I couldn't bring myself to speak to them and deliberately ignored her parents' call. She filed for divorce, and when she said we could work it out, and she loved me, I was too stupid and too blinded by my desires. After 2 years, the divorce was finalized. I traveled, married this girl, started processing her papers. It took over 2 years for her application to be approved. When you are married to a US citizen for more than 2 years, you receive a straight 10-year green card upon entering the country. So now, let me break down what's going on here. He was married to a Mexican American woman. He loved her, she loved him, but she was too emotional. So he was getting tired and bored of that. He started to flirt around. Along the line, he met a Nigerian girl over the internet, I believe, back in Nigeria. And he proceeded to go on, marry her and prepare papers for her. So with that papers he prepared for her, the Nigerian girl has 10 years stay in America upon entry. Now, this was a girl I had been sending money to and shipping clothes and shoes and jewelries. When she arrived in the United States, the Nigerian girl, I was at the airport to pick her up. The first comment she made was, "Why are you driving this kind of car?" I was instantly disturbed but laughed it off. Once we got to my apartment, she said, "I thought you owned a house." This is the problem right here with Nigerian girls. They don't seem to understand that men who go overseas are out there to hustle and build things little by little. The moment a Nigerian girl hears you're overseas, she has a picture in her mind that you have this lovely 9 to 5 job, you have a house you bought, you have a car you are riding. Also, the picture you paint to her while she's back in Nigeria also matters. So if you act like you're living larger than life and then you take her overseas and she asks you this type of stupid questions, you brought upon yourself. Now back to story. I replied that I rented. her face soured. I had hoped for a happy reunion, but it felt like I had to force her to take me seriously. That day, I remember doing everything to please her, but nothing felt good enough. We are going to the last part of the story. It was tough. Having intimate moments became a struggle. She was just bitter. I went from having a wife who was always happy and jumping on me to having a partner I had to beg for everything. We fought over little things. She never listened to me, and down the line, she told me she never loved me. She revealed that she was dating a guy in New York. I was crushed. I thought she was joking. The truth was, she wasn't. I saw the white guy's page and all the messages. I asked her why she did this to me, and she said, I never asked her if she was dating. In other words, when the guy offered to marry her, he never asked her if she was dating. Now, that's a silly excuse because you do not accept to marry a person unless you are single. But moving on, I just assumed she was, and at that time, she didn't know she would ever get the chance to come to America. Things got serious between her and the guy when my papers were in process. I felt like a stupid person for leaving my wife. The pain of what she did was as bad as remembering how much hurt I had caused my first wife. I started begging her for us to trace our step backs and start over again. She flat out told me, you made me believe that you were rich. You sold me a false sense of yourself. I don't see us being together. It was a very traumatic moment for me. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink. I remembered my ex-wife and how much I let myself go. Now I'm at a point where I'm all alone, filled with regret. Dr. Stan, I have nothing more to say. I hope people learn to cherish what they have. Now I'm just going to go on and say that this guy asked for what came upon him. That's one. Two, you have to understand this. As a guy living overseas, chatting with a girl back in Nigeria, let's be honest, the level of hunger in Nigeria is high. And every $1 you have that you give to them equals, as the exchange rate now, 1,700 naira. And that's quite a small money. But when you add it over time to $100, $1,000, you get to see what I'm trying to say. You are perceived as a big boy. You have to understand this. If you're going to take a girl from Nigeria to meet you overseas, you have to break it down for her. You have to let her know, baby girl, it's not all roses over there. It's not all tambourine and tangerine. It's not all melon and egusi. It's not all sweet. It's not all nice. You have to be ready for what you're going to face. It's time to go out there and hustle. But then you have to understand that even at that, the greed in them can let them say, okay, baby, I understand. I'll come with you. But when they get there, they're going to have their eyes set on more. So once again, do not jackpot with your wife. This is not all women. Like somebody commented on my channel, he said he wouldn't say all, but most. And that is most women for you. All right. After I did my last video that trended about a guy who moved overseas or took his wife overseas and she messed him up, we got a lot of comments from people sharing their personal stories. And even some guy told me of how, his own mom broke up with the dad when she found out that he was not going to take her overseas with him. So listen, you have to understand that fact, guys. Do not jackpot with your wife. But with that being said, it is what it is. I'm out.